Hello, everyone. Welcome to Whispers of Time, a place where remarkable lives, timeless ideas, and world changing minds come alive through powerful stories. Today, we journey into the life of one of the greatest thinkers in history.
Every great mind begins as a curious child. In this story, you will hear how questions became discoveries and doubt turned into greatness. As you listen, focus on understanding new words and ideas. Today's journey takes us into the life of Albert Einstein, a man who proved that persistence and imagination can change the world. This story is not just about learning English, it's about learning how persistence and curiosity can lead to greatness. So grab a notebook, pay close attention, and let's begin this journey to improve your listening, expand your vocabulary, and find motivation in the life of a childhood genius. Albert Einstein was born on March 14, 1879, in a small town in Germany. His parents, Hermann Einstein and Pauline Koch, were ordinary people. Hermann was a businessman who worked with electrical parts, while Pauline was a homemaker who loved music and learning. When Albert was born, there was nothing extraordinary about him except for one small detail. His head was unusually large. His family even joked about it, wondering if he would grow up to be a normal child. Little did they know that this boy would one day change the world. Albert was a very quiet child. He didn't speak his first words until he was almost 3 years old, which worried his parents. Some people even thought there was something wrong with him. His family called him the quiet one because he rarely spoke, even when other children were chatting nonstop. But Albert wasn't quiet because he was slow. He was quiet because he was always thinking. He would sit for hours, observing the world around him as if he were trying to understand how everything worked. When Albert was 5 years old, his father gave him a small gift, one that would change his life forever. It was a simple compass. At first, Albert could not understand how it worked. No matter how he turned it, the needle always pointed north. This small object confused and fascinated him at the same time. He held it in his hands for hours, staring at the moving needle and trying to understand the invisible force guiding it. This moment marked a turning point in Albert's life. For the first time, he realized that the world was filled with unseen forces. From that day forward, he wanted to understand them all. Many years later, Albert would say that this experience left a deep and lasting impression on him. When Albert began attending school, his experience was far from pleasant. He disliked the teaching methods of the time. Schools were extremely strict, and students were expected to memorize information without asking questions. Albert had no interest in memorization. He wanted explanations. He wanted understanding. His teachers often became impatient with him. They viewed his curiosity as disobedience. One teacher even told him, "You are a disgrace. You will never succeed in life." Those words deeply hurt Albert, but he refused to let them destroy his spirit. Albert struggled with certain subjects, especially languages. However, there was one subject that captured his heart completely: mathematics. He called it the language of the universe. To Albert, solving mathematical problems felt like solving puzzles. Each solution brought joy and clarity. Despite his struggles at school, Albert was fortunate to have a supportive family. His mother, Pauline, recognized his sensitivity and love for music. She encouraged him to learn the violin. At first, Albert disliked practicing, but over time, music became a source of peace. It helped him relax and think more clearly. His uncle Jacob also had a powerful influence on him. Jacob loved mathematics and introduced it to Albert in a fun, imaginative way. He once said, "Math is like a treasure hunt. Every problem hides a clue." This playful approach sparked Albert's lifelong love for numbers. Albert was not like other children. While others played outside, he preferred reading books and imagining how the world worked. He admired great scientists and dreamed of making discoveries of his own. One day, while walking home from school, a strange thought entered his mind. What would happen if I could ride on a beam of light? This question stayed with him for years. It became the foundation of his future ideas about light, space, and time. When Albert was 15, his life changed dramatically. His father's business failed, forcing the family to move to Italy. Albert remained behind in Germany to complete his education. The separation left him feeling lonely and unhappy. Eventually, Albert made a bold and risky decision. He left school without graduating. The strict rules and harsh discipline had become unbearable. Instead of formal education, he chose self-education. He read books on physics, philosophy, and mathematics, teaching himself what truly mattered to him. Many people believed he had ruined his future. Albert disagreed. To him, real learning mattered more than obeying rigid systems. At 16, Albert wrote his first scientific paper. Although imperfect, it revealed his extraordinary potential. He applied to the Swiss Federal Polytechnic School, but failed the entrance exam due to poor results in non-scientific subjects such as French and history. Instead of giving up, Albert tried again. He worked harder than ever, strengthening his weaknesses. Failure became a lesson, not an ending. Albert's early life was filled with misunderstanding, rejection, and doubt. Yet his curiosity and determination kept him moving forward. After leaving Germany, he moved to Switzerland, a country with a more open and modern education system. There, students were encouraged to think freely. It was exactly what Albert needed. At 17, Albert applied again to the Swiss Federal Polytechnic School in Zurich. This time, he succeeded. However, fitting in was still difficult. Albert loved mathematics and physics, but ignored subjects he found meaningless. Some professors disliked his independent thinking. One famously told him, "You are intelligent, Einstein, but you lack discipline." Albert often skipped lectures and studied alone, focusing on deeper questions about light, time, and gravity. During this period, Albert met Mileva Maric, the only female physics student in his class. She was brilliant and shared his passion for science. They spent countless hours discussing theories and dreaming of changing the world together. Their relationship faced many challenges, including financial hardship and social pressure, but they supported one another and remained focused on their goals. In 1900, at the age of 21, Albert graduated with a degree in physics. He hoped to begin an academic career, but reality was harsh. He applied for teaching positions and research roles, but was rejected repeatedly. His professors refused to write strong recommendations, believing he lacked motivation. In 1902, Albert finally found work as a clerk at the Swiss Patent Office in Bern. At first, he felt disappointed. The job had nothing to do with physics. However, he soon realized it gave him something valuable: time. He called the patent office his thinking laboratory. In 1903, Albert married Mileva. They lived modestly and struggled financially. Friends advised him to abandon science and focus on stability, but Albert refused. He believed that life without purpose was meaningless. Despite long workdays, Albert continued developing his ideas. In 1905, at the age of 26, he published several scientific papers that changed the world forever. Scientists later called this period Annus Mirabilis, the miracle year. He explained the photoelectric effect, showing that light behaves as particles called photons. He proved the existence of atoms through Brownian motion. He introduced the special theory of relativity, redefining time and space and presenting the famous equation E = mc2. The scientific community was stunned. A simple patent clerk had revolutionized physics. After 1905, Albert Einstein's life began to change rapidly. Scientists around the world started paying attention to his work. Invitations arrived from universities, and teaching positions were finally offered to him. The years of rejection were slowly being replaced by recognition. Albert became a professor at several universities, including Zurich and later Prague. For the first time, he had access to proper resources and academic freedom. However, success did not change his personality. He remained focused, curious, and deeply committed to asking difficult questions. By 1909, Albert's discoveries were well known across Europe. People began referring to him as a genius, someone capable of solving the mysteries of the universe. Albert himself rejected this label. He once said, "I am no genius. I'm simply curious. I stay with questions longer than others." Although fame followed him, Albert lived a simple life. He cared little about money, clothing, or social status. His focus remained on ideas, not appearances. In 1914, Albert moved to Berlin after being offered a prestigious position at the Prussian Academy of Sciences. This marked a major milestone in his career. He was now surrounded by the world's top scientists and had complete freedom to focus on research. Around the same time, World War I broke out. Europe was thrown into chaos. While many scientists supported the war, Albert openly opposed it. He believed violence could never solve humanity's problems. His stance made him unpopular in some circles, but he refused to remain silent. During this period, Albert's personal life began to suffer. His marriage to Mileva slowly fell apart. Years of stress, financial hardship, and emotional distance created tension between them. In 1919, they divorced. Despite this, Albert made sure Mileva and their children were financially supported. That same year, something extraordinary happened. British scientists tested Albert's general theory of relativity, which he had been developing since 1915. Their observations confirmed that gravity could bend light. This discovery completely changed humanity's understanding of the universe. The news spread worldwide. Overnight, Albert Einstein became famous. Newspapers across the globe printed headlines celebrating his work. For the first time in history, a scientist was treated like a celebrity. When asked about fame, Albert responded with humor and honesty, highlighting the prejudice he faced as a Jewish scientist in a divided world. During the 1920s, Albert traveled extensively. He visited the United States, Japan, and many other countries, delivering lectures and meeting leading thinkers. Wherever he went, crowds gathered to see him. Albert used his fame responsibly. He spoke out against war, promoted peace, and defended human rights. He believed that understanding, not force, was the key to lasting peace. He once said, "Peace cannot be kept by force. It can only be achieved by understanding." However, fame also brought criticism. Some accused him of being too idealistic, while others tried to discredit his work. Albert faced these attacks calmly. He believed that resistance was a sign of meaningful change. In 1933, the rise of the Nazi regime in Germany placed Albert in grave danger. As a Jewish scientist, he was openly targeted. His books were burned, and his theories were labeled as Jewish science. Albert made the painful decision to leave Germany forever. He moved to Princeton, New Jersey, where he joined the Institute for Advanced Study. Though heartbroken by the situation in Europe, Albert remained hopeful. He believed that even in darkness, opportunity existed. In 1940, Albert became an American citizen. He spent the rest of his life in the United States, continuing his research and advocating for peace. During World War II, Albert was asked to support research related to nuclear weapons. Although he did not directly work on the atomic bomb, his equation E = mOc2 formed the foundation of nuclear energy. When the atomic bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945, Albert was deeply disturbed. He regretted that his scientific discoveries had been used for destruction. For the rest of his life, he spoke out against nuclear weapons and promoted global cooperation. He believed humanity needed wisdom as much as intelligence. Despite being one of the most famous people on Earth, Albert lived modestly. He refused luxury, avoided material possessions, and cared little about appearance. He did not own a car, rarely wore socks, and enjoyed simple pleasures like sailing, even though he could not swim. Albert's curiosity never faded. Even in his later years, he continued asking questions about black holes, time travel, and the nature of the universe. His ultimate goal was to unite all the forces of nature into one theory, a challenge that remains unsolved today. As his health declined, Albert continued working until his final days. On April 18, 1955, Albert Einstein passed away at the age of 76. His final words, spoken in German, were never recorded, as the nurse beside him did not understand the language. Albert Einstein left behind more than scientific discoveries. He left lessons for humanity. Struggle shapes greatness. Curiosity drives progress. Humility defines true wisdom. Today, his name is synonymous with genius. Yet, his story is not just about intelligence. It is about perseverance, courage, and the belief that one person can change the world. Albert Einstein's life proves that greatness is not about being perfect. It is about being passionate, persistent, and brave enough to challenge the impossible. His words still echo today. Try not to become a person of success, but rather try to become a person of value.